Shalom Aleichem. I want to preface on what I spoke about tonight. I was told that I should say Mussar, but I'm not about Mussar, so but I'm going to talk it's Hasidus, but I hope it gives inspiration which will be like Mussar. We're living about time in an extremely confusing time since a year ago, October 7th. And I think it's important to try to get a little bit of hashkafa, mahalach, what we're living through it. So we have to try to understand a little bit from a Torah point of view. Now the Ramban, famously in this parish on Chumash Bereshis, says that the whole Bereshis, all the stories, beginning to the end, are all Maisa Avos, Siman Labanim. Whatever happened, especially to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, is like an allegorical, prophetic play of what will happen to Am Yisrael throughout time. And he does, every so often, the Ramban shows exactly how there's a parallel. Actually, it's the first Rashi in Chumash. The first Rashi in Chumash says, why are we beginning with stories? We should start with mitzvahs. So Rashi says, in order, if the Umayis Ha'olam will say, what are you doing stealing Eretz Yisrael from us? We'll tell them, look at all the stories in Bereshis, the Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he gives nations their lands, and he gave us the land of Israel. So Rashi also is saying that the stories of Bereshis are a similar banim. So we're living through an amazing time. There's Ov Choshech, it's like at the beginning of Bereshis, the Torah says that Haaretz ha'sasayu v'vayu Choshech al pnei sahaim v'yom Elokim yihi or v'yavdel Elokim bein ha'or ve'in ha'choshech v'kol or yom ha'choshech kol halayim. It was a big, very tumultuous beginning. The world was completely confused. It was all v'choshech. And Kadosh Baruch Hu started to separate things. V'yavdel. We're living in a time of tremendous overchoshech. Tremendous. So we need a little bit havdalah, a little bit, some type of definition to understand what's going on. I'm not a Navi, and this is just a theory, okay? So I want to preface, it's a theory. It's a svara. I learned by the Rav about 20 years, and the Rav used to always say, I'm not here to tell you the final pshat. I'm just here to discuss logical possibilities. So I'm giving you what I think is a possibility. Like the Rav used to say, I'm not telling you any final pshat. You can say whatever you want. You don't have to at all agree with anything I'm going to say. Shem Shmuel, which is a sefer I focus on a lot in Hasidus, he works very hard to try to understand the Golus Mitzrayim and the Geula from Mitzrayim. It goes back to the Bris Bein Hapsarim. The Kadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu, Ger Yezracha Beretz Lo Lahem V'Avadam V'In Oisam Abba Me'eshana Gam Esagaya Sheber Adonan Echevach Chen Yesu B'Chush Gadol. So basically, Sefer Shemos is the Lamaisa of the Bris with Abraham 400 years earlier. Chazal also say that in that Bris, it was Ema Chashecha Gedola Neifeles Olav. And Ema Zubavel Chashecha Suporas Gedola Zu Yavan and Neifeles is Edon. Elo Abba Malchios. That in that original bris Bein Absarim is all four Malchias, all the four kingdoms that Am Yisrael will have to go through in the Golus till we finally get to Mashiach. And the last one is Edom, and the Zohar says that Edom will be finished with Yishmael. Okay. We are living literally at that very tail end of Edom, Yishmael. So, the Shem Shmuel says like this. He says that, why did the Kadosh Baruch Hu make this bris with Avram ben Absarim, and why did he tell him all of Jewish history will be a series of Galuyot and Geulot? Galus Mitzrayim, Gulas Mitzrayim, Galus Bavel, Gulas Bavel, Paras, Yavan, Edom. Why? So he says like this, Avram Avinu had a huge problem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Abraham, you're wonderful, I love you, I'm going to give you a tremendous gift. I'll give your children this land of Eretz Israel, and they'll become a Goy Gadol. Your children, that nation, will bring a blessing to the world. Avinu had a very big question. He says, okay, you told me that Oischa Re'isi Tzadik, like by Noach, you told me that I'm a righteous person, you're giving me this amazing blessing, but I don't understand what's going to happen over time. You're talking about a nation. A nation has millions of people. All million people are going to be tzaddikim. They're all going to deserve this tremendous blessing of Eretz Israel, Torah, Nitzchias, eternity. So natural people will change. There'll be people who will be chaitim, who will be sinners. Maybe even one day there'll be a majority of the Jews who will be sinners. So how will they deserve the blessing? You're Melech HaMishpat. Everything you do is with justice. The nations of the world are screaming, why does this nation get all these blessings? Just saw it today, literally, they took a survey of Jewish college students. Came out yesterday. They say that 90% said that they had an anti-Semitic incident with them on a campus this year. 25% of the Jews on campuses in America are hiding the fact that they're Jewish. The Goyim have a taina. Why should you get the land of Israel? Why are you better than anybody else? You're chaitim. You do many sins. They're very angry. They're furious. So Avram says, there's a taina here. Melech HaMishpat. So, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, you know, you have a point. You have a point. I'm sure that down the road, there are going to be a lot of times that the Jews will not keep the Torah. They'll do every Aveira in the book. Avodah Zarah, Gila, Raya, Sichas, you name it. How we give them, well, what should we do? So Hashem, there's a medrash. So that Hashem tells Abraham, I'm going to give you a choice. I want to bless you and your son Yitzchak, and then it'll be a Yaakov. I want to give you a special blessing that you'll have a great nation, which is really the dream of everybody. Everybody wants to have great children, so I'm giving you this blessing. But what's going to happen? There'll be chotim. So I said, I'll give you a choice. We could do like this. We could give them the blessing. They'll get the Torah, and they'll get the land of Israel. And you know what? It'll be beautiful forever. It'll be beautiful. Only one thing, you know what? How we'll punish them when they learn the Avodah Zarah and Gil Arayim, Shvichas Damim, every Aveira in the book. You know what we'll do? We'll take away Olam Haba. There's no Olam Haba for Jews. they'll have Olam Hazeh. That'll be the bracha. V'nivucha, in this world, but Olam Haba, that's it. Take away from them. That's one option Hashem tells Abraham. Or he tells Abraham, Avinu, I'll give you another option. The Jews can have Olam Haba, but what will make life in this world very, very difficult for them. When they don't deserve the bracha, we'll take away Eretz Yisrael, we'll send them into Golus, and in the Golus they'll suffer terribly. They'll be victims of pogroms, hatred, discrimination, terrible. But they will do tshuva, because they have a Torah, and they learn from their suffering that they have to do tshuva, and they'll do tshuva, they'll come back to Israel. And let's say it happens again, they come back to Israel, there'll be a geula, and back a second time, they'll again, at some point, go off the derech. We'll make another time a golus, there'll be a churban of Eretz Yisrael, and they'll go out to the golus another time. And again, we'll wait. Eventually, they'll do tshuva, and they'll come back to it. So there'll be a geula. So which choice do you want? Do you want to have, they always have a good life in this world, or with no Olam Haba at all? What do you want? Olam Haba, but in this world there'll be onesh, there'll be punishments, there'll be Golus and Geula. So Avraham Avinu chose Golus and Geula. That's the Bris Bein Absarim. The Bris Bein Absarim is the blueprint of Jewish history. That is Jewish history. Golus and Geula, Avadim and Yetzu, they go out. Now, all of us are part of this history. I was born in 1944. The year is Tav Shin Dalet. Shnas Shrichas Damen. It was the worst year of murder of Jews in the history of the world. 3 million Jews were killed in 1944. 1.5 million were babies. I was born then. My parents were survivors. They fled. And many, many other people fled. And I grew up in the generation of Holocaust survivors. I died in a shtibel. The shtibel had said 100 Jews, 100 survived the Holocaust, every single Jew. There wasn't a single Jew there who didn't have family members who were murdered. I think every so often about the 2 great Jews who survived, the Klausenberger Rebbe and the Brisker Rav. Klausenberger Rebbe and also Belzer Rebbe, 3. Klausenberger Rebbe lost a wife and 11 children were murdered. He was the only one that survived. Brisker Rav lost a wife and 8 children. He's the only one who survived. Belzer Rav, he lost a wife and 10 children. And they went through the Golus. And they came out and said, we will continue. We will continue. We will bring a geula. And they all rebuilt. They rebuilt Yiddishkeit. Around Cutler survived. He came to America and he built Lakewood. And the Gedolim that I grew up with, almost all of them were somehow survivors. I remember speaking to the Rav's sister, Mrs. Meiselman, and she tells me such a blessing. She said that my father at Moshe never became the Rav of Brisk because he was in Warsaw. And he left Warsaw before the war. He got out. If he would have been in Brisk, I would have been killed. The Rav would have been killed. We're children of the Holocaust. We're the generation of Geula. Now, we want to know, how do you deal with this Galus Geula? And we're blessed, you and I are blessed that we're the Geula generation. We're back in Eretz Israel. When I was your age, back in 1956 or 60, there were 1 million Jews in Israel. Today there are 7 million. Then Yerushalayim was completely by the Arabs. Now Yerushalayim is completely by Am Yisrael. So there's a lot of Geula. There's also a lot of tzaras going on. The Galus is not over. It's a mixture of Galus and Geula. So let's examine some of the stories of the Chumash, especially these this week, last week, this week. Maybe it's teach us something. A very strange Parshas B'Shalach, because B'Shalach, Am Yisrael leaves Mitzrayim, and there's a Kriyas Yamsuf. But it's a very strange Parsha because the Geula of Yamsuf is fantastic. Az Yashem Moshe B'nai Yisrael, a wonderful Shiva. Rosh Shivcha L'Yam, Ashalava, Cheskel Ben Buzi, B'Maisa Merkava. Was, in a certain way, maybe the high point of Jewish history. But then, right after the Yamsuf, there's unbelievable downfall. Come tomorrow, Vayilonu B'nai Yisrael al Moshe. Then a little bit later, they have a problem with food again. Vayilonu, they're screaming at Moshe, why'd you take us out? Mitzrayim, you should have kept us in Mitzrayim, why did you take us out? And then finally, by the Masa Mariva with the Rak, I don't understand. I mamish don't understand. How could it be? You just saw Kodesh Baruch Hu at the Yamsuf. You mamish saw heaven open up. You had Malachim. You were greater than Yecheskel. And literally 3 days later, you're rebelling. It was also Or V'Choshech for the Geulei Mitzrayim, the Jews who left Mitzrayim. So the answer about time, I think the Shem Shmuel says this one. He says about there's a Jewish joke. The Jewish joke says, it's easier to take Jews out of Egypt after 200 years than it is to take Egypt out of the Jews. It says, Gringo nemen die Yid a Reus von Mitzrayim, und sie nemen Mitzrayim a Reus von der Yid. The problem of Golus, which in a certain way Golus preserves us, because otherwise we wouldn't even have Olam Haba. So Golus preserves us, but Golus also destroys us, because Golus makes us become like the Goyim. We're a tiny little nation, and the Goyim are tremendous amounts of people. You look at Israel today, Israel is maybe 6 million Jews, and just the 7 nations that they say they're fighting now has between those 7 nations about 200 million. Put all the Muslims in the world on the other side against us, that's 1,400,000,000. Take all the Europeans, the Christians, basically all against us. The Pope came out against Israel the last month or so. There's 1 billion Christians. And you have India. Literally, it's like my wife speaks to me every day. She says, the whole world's against us. So for me, that's not a big deal. I'm used to it. I come from a Holocaust. But I said, okay, so. But we have to Rebbeinu Shalom, so it's no match. But the problem is that we are very tiny and we're overwhelmed by the non-Jewish world that we're in and the Gullus. So we succumb to that world's values. We become Egyptian. Halala Avodah Zarah, Halala Avodah Zarah, it says in the Gemara. It's Gemara, I think it's in Megillah. The Gemara says, Halala Avodah. At the Yam Suf, the Jews were praying to the idols. Why? They spent 200 years in Egypt. Why is 75, 80% of not religious Jews in America marrying the Goyim? Why? You live here for 100 years. It's nice and quiet. And you make money. So you buy into the local culture. So why not intermarry? It's a huge problem. Gullus, maybe it's the way to be preserved, but it's also the way to get destroyed. So that's what was going on by the Yetzias Mitzrayim. In a Chanami, Rosh Shivcha Cheskel ben Buzi, she saw the angels. She was a prophet. But when that was over, she was still Egyptian. She was still Egyptian. And when there's a problem, why'd I leave Egypt? I should have stayed in Egypt. Why, Moshe, why'd you take us out? Again and again. So it was a very interesting, if you read the Parsha very carefully, you see that Moshe doesn't immediately, let's say, solve the problem. He davens to Hashem, or he tells them, what do you want from me? You should daven to Hashem. Well, it's not me and Aaron. We didn't do it. We're just, Kadosh Baruch Hu did it, daven. And then Hashem says, oh, take a stick, throw something into the water, there'll be man. So what's going on here? What's going on is like this. Unfortunately, I'm Israel Avodah Zarah. Okay, so the Egyptians got blasted, and now we're out. And there's this great guy, Moshe. He's unbelievable. He makes miracles. You know, before we left, I used to worship Paro. Paro was the god, one of the gods of Egypt. When they built the pyramids, because Paro never dies, he lives inside the pyramid after death. It was one of their cults was worship of the dead. So they worship Paro. So, okay, Paro got smashed. You know what? Moshe is the new God. We worship people for 200 years. We worship the dead. So we worship Moshe. He has a stick. The stick can do anything. It can turn water into blood, turn the ground into lice, kill the firstborn. He's the new God. Now he says there's something called Hashem. But I don't see Hashem. I see Moshe. That's what's going on in their head. So when there's a problem, Moshe, do it. Why don't you just take that stick and do the miracle? Why are we? Moshe says, you don't get it. There's Hashem. Anachnu ma. Who are we? We're nothing. You think me and Aaron are miracle workers? We're not miracle workers. Anachnu ma. We're nothing. Only is Hashem. Daven. So that was lesson number one. That they have to daven. Then there's another lesson. All of a sudden, an enemy comes to attack, Amalek. How can Hashem destroys the Egyptians? Moshe. Okay, we learned now that there's Hashem. So let's daven, and he'll destroy Amalek the way he destroyed Egypt by the Yam Suf. Moshe says no, because Hashem tells Moshe, no, you have to, Kach Anoshim, Tzevi Lochem B'Amalek, V'yachlosh Yeshua. You know what? I'm going to daven, Yadav Emunah. And when they see Moshe davening, and their hearts are also davening, they can fight and beat Amalek. Why did Hashem do this? Could have smashed Amalek the way he smashed the Egyptians. Just did it a little earlier. The answer is very important yesod. This yesod is extremely important. Kiddush Baruch Hu wants the Jewish people, wants people to do lasos. He didn't make the world for him to do. He doesn't need the world. He can do anything. He wants us to do. But after 200 years as a slave, you basically don't believe you can do anything. You're totally helpless. So Hashem has to teach you that you can do. He makes things hard. And then you daven and you get a Yeshua. You get water, you get food. Now you're going up and get to a higher level. You're going to fight Amalek, the worst enemy in the world. He just kills Jews because he wants to kill Jews. The Nazis, the Hamas, they just want to kill you. And yeah, Hashem could do it, but he doesn't want that. He wants you to do it. You fight them. You beat them. You grow up. You're not a baby anymore. That Abba fights you a fight. You fight the fight. That's what the Torah is all about. Lasos. We have to do. At some point, you can't do, then Hashem will take care. In the desert, there's no water. If I daven, Hashem will give me the water. But if there's Amalek, I can fight. That's the way you survive in Golus. Golus is a kapara, so it preserves us. But Golus is also a tremendous danger that we lose our identity in the Golus. And Hashem wants us to have a very, very strong identity. He's not going to do everything. He wants us to do almost as much as we can do, and then he finishes the job. That's the lesson of Golus. Okay, now I just want to become a little down to earth. It's basically Shem and Shmuel, but it's the way I understand it. But I kind of went down to it. I want to talk a little bit about Israel, not too much, but I want to talk more about our Yeshiva University. Okay, Israel, just very quickly. Israel, the way I see it, I say everything is a theory. When you take something and you apply it in reality, you may or may not be right. So Israel, it seems to me like this. We were in Golus for 1,800 years. And we learned our lesson in the Golus to stay very strong. Jewish, Torah, mitzvahs. Hashem gave us back Israel. So the first step was survival. Survive the Golus, survive a Holocaust, and come back to Israel. That's stage one. Stage two is grow up. take responsibility, build, fight, build a country, build a society. That's stage 2. And what's stage 3? Going back now to the Chumash. Stage 3 is after the Yam Suf, after the Midbar, after the Amalek. What's stage 3? Har Sinai. Get a Beis HaMikdash. Get the Kiddush of Torah. Come to Sinai, meet Hashem himself. Go to the first Beis HaMikdash, Har Sinai. That's the 3rd stage. So Israel, stage 1, survival. Stage 2, grow up and take responsibility, develop. And stage 3 is Kedusha. But both type, personally, is my theory, I think we're on the edge of moving into stage 3. I think we survived the Holocaust, we survived the War of Independence, the early wars. We built a beautiful country over the last 75 or so years. Millions of Jews came, many cities were built. People, Parnassa, Torah, institutions, wonderful building. Now we're coming to the 3rd level, Har Sinai, Kedusha. That's why this war is full of Kiddush Hashem. More than any war I've ever seen. I've seen every war since 1956. I had a 56. I remember I think at that I was 12 years old. I had a scrapbook. I used to cut out articles in the New York Times about the daily report of the Sinai War. But this is the first war like this I've ever seen. So much Kiddush Hashem. And it's our boys a lot. My last trip, I made sure to go to the yeshivas which have the soldiers who are Mussar Nefesh. Spent a lot of time in Leiva Torah. Has the program for Americans. Have over 500 American boys like you, mamish like you, who are soldiers, Mussar Nefesh. I gave also my Hasidish book to every soldier. Then I went to yeshiva called Eli, the Israeli yeshiva. I was when they made yeshiva 40 years ago, I was there day 1. But anyway, today it's a huge yeshiva, huge. It has maybe 2,000 Talmidim. Every single one is a soldier. Every single one. Eli has the most losses of any yeshiva in Israel. When I was there were already 36 boys on Kiddush Hashem. When I left, there was another 3 boys. I don't know how many are today. And I made sure to give shir there. I had to connect to that kind of Kiddush Hashem. Then I went to Beit El. Beit El is also a huge yeshiva, has maybe 500 guys. Also, every single one a soldier. Tomorrow we're going to have a Sichas here in this yeshiva, that the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Yerucham is going to give a shir tomorrow at 12 o'clock. I urge everybody to go. He deserves it, and his boys deserve it. They have 10 people that were Mussar Nefesh. Anyway, there's a Kiddush Hashem over there, and I think when you have a Kiddush Hashem like that fighting Amalek, after that has to be a Har Sinai. There has to be a Beis HaMikdash. That's just a theory. I think we're going to have Beis HaMikdash not so far down the road. But okay, that's for Israel and that theory over there. Let me talk about Yeshiva University. When I came to YU about 1961, how many years ago that is? About 64 years ago, as I was a freshman in the college. The big motto was Torah Umada. Torah Umada. I tell you the truth, I had no clue what that meant. Now, looking back, I can figure out what it meant. I'll tell you what it meant. At that time, I had no clue what it meant, and I didn't know until maybe 3 years ago. I finally figured it out. It took me about 60 years to figure it out. What does Torah Umada mean? There's only Torah. What do you mean Mada? Science. I don't understand. They weren't talking about science. There's something called Mada. Chochma, like the Goyim. I had no clue what that meant. I eventually got a PhD myself, but in math and engineering. So I still don't know what does Mada mean in Torah Mada. So anyway, now I figured it out. The pshat is like this. It took me a long time to finally figure out pshat. The pshat is that before I came, way, way back when, let's say 1920 something, yeshivas were only Torah. And then, in America, there was something called Mada. Mada meant Goyish Chochma. You study what the Goyim study. Unfortunately for everybody, 6 million Jews were in America around the year 1900. The 6 million were almost all immigrants from Europe. When they got off the boat, 90% were keeping Shabbos. By the year 1930, let's say, there were still 6 million. The 6 million had switched into 5 million, and I would say 800,000 Mechalel Shabbos. Incredible self-destruction of Am Yisrael in America. And I grew up in that generation. I grew up in the Bronx, across the river, in 1950, 55, 60. There were 1 million Jews in the Bronx. In the whole Bronx, for 1 million Jews, there were only 2 day schools, 2 yeshivas for little kids, Sichas Moshe and SAR. Between the 2 schools, for 1 million Jews, you had 600 students from grade 1 to 8. Can you imagine? From 1 million Jews, how many children are there from 1 to 8? At least 100,000. Less than 1,000 were getting Torah education. Where were 99,000 other children? Public school, Mada, Bronx Science, Bronx High School. I remember I grew up in the street and I met the Jewish kids. What's your dream? Bronx High School of Science. And if I can't get into that, I'll go to Stuyvesant. And after I graduate those 2 high schools, I'll go to Harvard, Yale. The goal is for the Jew to succeed in Mada. What is Mada? Chochma shel Goyim. And they did it probably because they, you make it, whatever. But they were so successful. This Golus America had so much success in destroying Yiddishkeit. The guy wasn't even thinking about it. The guy didn't have a campaign like the Nazis, or I don't know, the Pope, the Christians. They wanted to convert us. The guy here were nice guys. They weren't thinking about converting us. The Jews jumped into it. So whoever it was, I guess it was Rabbi Bernard Revel, because he came up with the idea. He says, you know what? Mada is destroying Am Yisrael in America. We will make, but the people who learn Torah are good, but there's so few, it's like 1%. We will make Torah umada. This is how we will survive this Golus. Because we'll have Torah umada. And you know what? They succeeded. He succeeded, Rabbi Rebel, Rabbi Belkin. I remember when I was a freshman in college, and Rabbi Belkin gave a drasha. I remember he kept on saying, in Yiddish, Our yeshiva is Volozhin. Our college is Yale. I couldn't understand. What does it mean, Volozhin and Yale? I couldn't understand it. But now I understand. Because so many Jews were dropping out to go to Bronx High School of Science and Yale and leaving everything, so we'll make, and we know that Torah preserves Am Yisrael in Golus, and in Israel, every place, Torah is Heim Chayenu, we live because of Torah, so we'll give Torah Umada. And you know what? He succeeded. The guys are from. Okay, so that was, I would call, stage one, survival. In Golus, survival. Yeshiva University was a little boat of Jewish Torah, Umada survival. Now, what was stage two? I was here, so but very interesting. 1960s, YU had no business school at all. If you wanted to be anything in YU, you had to go into what they called the humanities. Humanities meant literature, philosophy, history. I tell you the truth, I was not interested in that. So I went to physics, math. I was a mute. But business, you couldn't get anything in business. Someone said, I want a business. Business? That's not Mada. That's making money. That's low life. Be a plumber. Do like they did in the Lower East Side, sell vegetables on the street corners. You're a peddler, you want to make money? Mada! That's what you have to study in the college. That's what I heard all the time then. But now I know it was a way of preserving. But something happened around the year 1975, 1980. The boys were so angry at this, and these other colleges were offering business. Soif, I think the dean retired. They got a new dean, and he was masking to make a business school. So they opened up Cy Sims Business School. All of a sudden, everybody became the largest major Yeshiva University was business. And I call that stage two. What is stage two? Developing, growing up, taking responsibility. You have to make a living, go out there, be a banker, be an investment banker, raise. No. So you're taking responsibility. You're not just sitting, they used to call in the old days a bankwetcher. You're sitting over the books. You think about philosophy. Do the Mussar, make a living, build a house. So they did. So that was stage two. Let's say from the year 1980 till around, I would say maybe 10 years ago. So we went through stage two. By now, Yeshiva University, the Torah is excellent and very good, as Rabbi Balkan said, been great all the years. But the other side was survival, Torah Mada. Then you had development, become an Ishmaisa, with the business school and everything else, all the careers. That was the second stage. What now is the third stage? The third stage now is Kiddush Hashem. We are getting a Torah Mada education. Of course, to withstand the gullus, the pull of the Goyish culture. And I'm very proud of every boy who doesn't open up the phone in the Beis Medrash, because you don't want to bring the Goyish culture in here. We're a bastion against the Goyish culture. That's stage one. Stage two, I'm very proud of all the guys who do so well in all the professions. Lawyers, doctors, whatever. But stage three is now. Just like in Eretz Yisrael, they have a real Kiddush Hashem level. But we have a Kiddush Hashem over here. And that is because we're so, today, YU fellows and maybe landers like this and so on, are so much out there in the real world from and doing everything, doctors, lawyers, computer programmers, whatever. Kiddush Hashem, people see it. People see it. My doctor is a frum Jew. When I went, once in a while I go up to a hospital to visit sometimes. So I see certain hospital floors, I literally counted 10 doctors, and 8 out of 10 were wearing a yarmulke. I was flabbergasted. It's incredible. 8 out of 10 doctors in Colombia on a certain floor when I was there were wearing a yarmulke. What a Kiddush Hashem. You know how many lives these people save? Every patient, they're saving a life, and he knows he's wearing a yarmulke. Kiddush Hashem. And I want to tell you something. Rabbi Berman, should be well, he spoke at the inauguration. It wasn't stam. Nothing happened stam. Everything is hashgacha. He's the first Orthodox rabbi to speak at the inauguration of a president. He spoke right after the president, the next speaker. What's the message? Kiddush Hashem. An Orthodox Rav is recognized at the most important event of a presidency to give the blessing. Not Reform rabbi, not conservative, all these different Jewish cults. Orthodox, Torah Jew, Kiddush Hashem. It's a symptom, it's a symbol. He represented us, and he made such a Kiddush Hashem. We have to do Kiddush Hashem. Not enough that you survive the gullus, you don't become a guy. Okay, you're not going to intermarry. Mazel tov. You marry a nice girl from Stern. Mazel tov, it's great, I'm asking. Very good, you're a doctor, and you're an investment banker, you make $1 million a year, and you have the biggest house in Teaneck. Also, Mazel Tov. Kiddush Hashem is what we want today. How many people have you impressed the fact that you're a Torah Jew? Have you been honest in everything you do? To tell you a little story, I don't like to tell stories, but this little story, because it happened just yesterday. I got a box. I ordered something from Amazon about a month ago. The box never came. So I called Amazon about 2 weeks ago, and I said the box never came. They said, okay, what was there? 4 different items. We give you credit. Don't worry about it. We'll send you a new box, and you don't have to pay for the new box that you paid for the old box. Okay. Literally 2 days ago, my wife discovers the box, the first box. It was hidden someplace. Among all the different deliveries that we had, it was there someplace. I found the box. So I said, oh, I can do a Kiddush Hashem. I call up Amazon. It took a little while to get to somebody, but I finally got someone. Customer service, I say, so-and-so. I tell them the story. I thought the box was lost, so I got credit, and they sent me a replacement. Now I discovered the first box. I want to order the first box also, so I'll have extra supplies. He says, let me speak to my supervisor. So I wait. Comes back after a couple of minutes. He says, Rabbi Reichman, my supervisor says, you're so honest that you called us back to pay for a box that you didn't have to pay for because it was lost, and we gave you credit, and you called back to pay. Wow, he says, you're such an honest man. My supervisor said, Amazon has given you that first box as a gift, appreciation of your honesty. I said, wow, I am so impressed with Amazon. You have made me your most loyal customer. You gave me a gift for free. I sent them an email. You are great. God should bless you because you treated me so well. But the reason that they did it was because I was honest. I called back to pay for something which they had already given me credit for. I decided I wanted to do a Kiddush Hashem in Kachava. You can do so much Kiddush Hashem. I don't want to brag for myself, it's garnish, but I want to just say, every day, think where you can do Kiddush Hashem. That's what you're here for. Whether you're a Torah person, whether you're going to make a good panasa, but we have to do Kiddush Hashem. So, I just want to mention a few little things. I think that we, the frum Jews, today have a tremendous responsibility to reach out to what I like to call not yet frum Jews. It's a chilul Hashem if we let other Jews go down the drain. We have to try. Success is not up to us. Success is up to the Rosh, but we have to try. Every person, every frum Jew should have some kind of a Mussar with a not yet frum Jew. In this school, you have a lot of boys. I work in the IBC. There are a lot of boys. Boys in JSS. And there's signs, and they say sign up, and you can learn with a JSS boy or IBC boy, whatever. You have to wait until Kiddush Baruch Hu, you know what I did. Going to say, how come your next door roommate, you didn't do anything, you didn't learn with them, and you should remain ignorant. We have an achrayus, half an hour a week. Find somebody. I saw a sign that said that they invited why boys to become coaches and friends of the car students. Wow, I saw that. This is amazing. And the cool boy is such a tzaddik. He's coming here. It's a tremendous. We have to do it. Kiddush Hashem. We have to help other Jews. We just can't take care of ourselves. We should have a chavrusa once a week, for half an hour. Somebody. I was speaking to a boy who came to my house for Shabbos. He says, Rebbe, NCS wine, looking for people to volunteer to work with the kids. I'm throwing it out here for the Bachler. Organize it. Every Bachler in YU should have a chavrusa of somebody who's not yet firm or not yet completely ready. Whether it's NCSY, JLIC, kids like, what about all the kids from Yeshivas who are on the college campuses? Why don't we have chavrusa do that? They were with you together in high school. They were with you in Frisch. Now he's in the University of Maryland or Penn. Call him. Have a chavrusa. I'll tell you what you should learn also. Learn my